perfect example of the unaccountable, inconsistent worldview of so many women and how they refuse to be accountable. The feminist says they want to be treated like men. They're equal to men. They deserve to have the life they want to have, which is equal to men. Equality, they call it. But then, as soon as equality would cause them discomfort, pain, suffering, anxiety, now all of a sudden they want different rules for themselves than they have for men. Here's an example. This gal up here posted this video. Said men complain about child support like it's a trap. But let's be real. Being legally required to send money and not change diapers, lose sleep, or rearrange your life daily is the softest form of fatherhood there is. I love it. I love it when women, mothers, women want to lecture men about what constitutes fatherhood. Love it. Love it. If that's too much, you weren't ready to be a dad. You were just irresponsible. As a sort of a side note on this stupid comment, stupid video here, do you notice how the woman in the voice of a mother, of the ex-wife or the baby mama, in the voice of the mother says, if that's too much, you weren't ready to be a dad. You were just irresponsible. Waggy, waggy, waggy. Lady, you picked him. You picked him. Unless there was some sort of a sexual assault, you saw him, and you thought that he would make a good dad. You really didn't, though, did you? You just thought he'd be good in bed. You thought he'd be good in bed, at least good enough, and that you would be able to gain whatever resources you felt like you needed that he had. And those resources don't always have to be money and material stuff. It could be the resource that he makes you feel appreciated. He makes you feel validated. Sometimes it'll be that you have somebody that you think you're going to save them. You're going to rescue them. You're going to give them a frame off restoration and make them into the kind of man that you just know deep in your heart that they have in them, and they just need a good woman to pull them out. And then when you find out that you actually do not have a magic coochie coo, fantastical, how you call it, that can change the laws of nature and the universe, well then, by that time, many times, you've already got a child with him, so you kind of got your hook there and everything. And then you turn around and complain about him doing the same things he did the day you met him. All right? So if that's too much, then you're not ready to be a dad. You were just irresponsible. What do you call it when you decided to lay down with him and make a baby? I mean, it sounds to me like you weren't ready to be a mother, and you were just irresponsible, because a good mother would have typically picked a better man, a better father for her children, and not just being like, oh, he makes me feel so warm and fuzzy, and not, oh, I'll finally have someone to love me. Now I feel complete. Yep. It's amazing how these baby mamas are really good at wagging their finger at how the father of the child or the ex-husband, whatever, just is irresponsible. He just was not a very good father when they're the ones who picked him. Y'all picked him. Nobody selected a father for your children and then assigned him to you. That's not how it works. I don't understand why you women don't take responsibility for the low-down scoundrel loser men that you choose to marry or sleep with if you don't marry them. But when you end up with kids with some loser, now all of a sudden you're a victim and he's the scoundrel, and he may be the scoundrel. But what are you? You picked him. The most I've ever heard a jilted woman ever say in relation to that question is, well, I was just young and dumb. Well, he was young and dumb too. So if you get out of your accountability for picking a loser, maybe why doesn't he get out of accountability for making a baby when he was young and dumb? I mean, he just saw some gal that he thought was hot enough to sleep with, and she got pregnant. It was just one of those mistakes, right? I mean, that's what the woman often says to try to justify her stupid decisions, her irresponsible behavior. Oh, you're young and dumb. And then old Cheryl Brassall down here This gal here, I'll make this bigger, make sure that you don't have to just put up with my reading skills. You can actually see what this woman said. I can't, I'm not going to make it big enough for you to see her profile picture, but she is sufficiently middle-aged after. I remember I overheard my 14-year-old nephew talking about wanting to have sex. I told him he wasn't old enough to have sex. He started telling me why he was old enough to have sex. What kind of damn conversation is this to be having with your 14-year-old nephew? Let's flip the script on that, and it'd be an uncle having this conversation with his 14-year-old niece. Come on. So what kind of family are we dealing with here to begin with? I explained that he won't be old enough to have sex until he has reached the age that he can accept the responsibility of not only the sex, but also all the responsibilities of the consequences of having sex. 6 years later, his mom called me. I guess that's her sister. 6 years later, his mom called me crying that his girlfriend is pregnant and wants to have an abortion. All I could say was, her body, her choice. Does anybody see the hypocritical conflict that hag right there has in that whole attitude? Or is it just me? I mean, okay, so first of all, the root problem in this situation is you got an aunt trying to mentor her nephew into what it takes a man to do, which is to mentor that boy into manhood. But you got these women that say, oh no, a single mom, or in this case an aunt, a single mom can raise a boy into a man. She can teach him what he needs to know, and she can teach him to be a good man. I mean, exhibit A, B, C, all the way through X right here. Right here. So this gal talking to her 14-year-old nephew was just wasting her time and breath talking to that boy. She has no idea what that boy deals with in his day-to-day life, especially when it comes to this topic right here. But that doesn't keep her from getting involved, though. That doesn't keep her from thinking that she knows something and can do something. What that boy right there needed was a father to address those issues. What that aunt, had she taken part in the patriarchy, which I would wager by her last line there, her body, her choice, she is probably against the patriarchy, the masculine, toxic masculinity. But what that aunt should have done if she had been operating within the bounds of the patriarchy was she would have kept her pie hole shut, and she would have gone to the boy's father. And she'd have said, hey, I overheard little Johnny over here saying such and such and such. I'd really hate to see him in a position with a baby he wasn't prepared to support. So I'm going to let you know he's your son. So, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, and everything. And let that father go to that son and address it and role model and mentor it. I raised 4 boys. Ain't none of them had no outside babies. And I ain't all that really smart. But I didn't have my wife and her sisters going around trying to teach my sons how to be men. That's the bottom line right there. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, and this is clearly a feminist, because she's telling this 14-year-old boy that he shouldn't be having sex until he was reached the age that he could accept the responsibility of not only the sex, but also all the possibilities of the consequences of having sex. But when the boy turns 20 years old, right, 6 years later, 14 plus 6 is 20. I had to use my fingers, but I did graduate from public school, but I believe the boy was 20, so he was a grown man. And his girlfriend gets pregnant. All of a sudden, there's a different set of rules. With this 14-year-old boy, she's telling him about how he shouldn't have sex until he's responsible enough to take care of the baby that comes along with it. But for the girl, no, she can run down the road and suck it into a sink. Or she can run down the road and get a pill and then flush it down the toilet. Because abstaining from sex for her until she's responsible and prepared to take care of it, which would be married and have an income, someone who could support that, That sort of an accountability for the woman who gets pregnant? No. We can't expect her to keep her knees closed. You know, my mama used to say the best form of birth control was a nickel that you held between your knees. Take care of the problem. But you say that that woman should stay out of the, not have sex until she's responsible and prepared to be a mother? Oh, no, that's oppression. That's oppression. No. We have to have reproductive health care, which means the ability to suck our child into a sink, throw it in a dumpster, or flush it down a toilet. It means that the woman should be able to go have this irresponsible, carefree sex, could do anything in the world she wants to do, and what she want to do, she wants to go be a hoe. She should be able to go do all of that. And if she gets pregnant, well, she can have reproductive health care. So she can go have an abortion. I mean, I think it was Tim Allen. It was either him or Jeff Foxworthy had the joke about how, you know, a woman can get pregnant, not get pregnant. If she gets pregnant, she can have an abortion, she can carry the baby. If she carries the baby, once she has it, she can give it up for adoption or she can raise it. But men, they have the same choices they've always had. They can go to work or they can go to jail. And I'm Dane.